hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you.
Hello and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
Possibly the dumbest Victor Frankenstein that is, Eric Velasquez. My pronouns are also he, him.
Yeah. So this one's a weird one. So we're here with Frankenstein Day of the Beast, which is, definitely one of the more close to the originals that we've done in a while. We've been kind of on a walkabout, doing some kind of more divergent stuff. But this has even starting with a snowy place, but it's not, we don't have the whole Walton story or whatever. But then it gets weird. At first I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be, semi-faithful to, this is one that has Safi in it and stuff.
Right.
But then it goes places for sure.
Does its own thing for sure, yeah. Let's talk about those places.
Yeah. So, as I said, we start in a snowy forest. We have a search party that's going through the woods. They've got dogs that are barking. They end up finding a mutilated animal carcass. I think it's a rabbit. It's kind of it's so mutilated it's not quite.
It's basically just somebody picked it up and just crushed it. So you can imagine what the monster did.
Yeah, we have Captain Yeager, who's the police chief in the area or whatever.
Right,
and our Victor. Yeah.
I love that the guy's name's Captain Yeager because he's a hunter.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what Yeager means. Hunter.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeager's do you think this could be him? And Victor's it could be, but usually he prefers other kinds of meat.
Dun, dun, dun. Woman meat, I'm guessing, or human meat maybe is what he means, but I'm thinking really he means woman meat. As we'll find out later.
Yeah.
So then we see a young woman and her blind father. Mm-hmm. I wonder who these people are. Just hey, that's weird that there's a hunting party out here. Let's go gather some sticks and leave.
Yeah. So they head back towards their cabin, and as they get to the cabin, we get an obvious POV shot. The camera is somebody's view. And we hear, it's something that's kind of breathing heavy and kind of growling, and it's watching them through a crack in the wall of the cabin. So, we know this is our Frankenstein monster.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there's, the doorbell rings, and, so Agatha goes to answer the door. Of course, yeah, we know this is Agatha and Delacey.
Yeah.
And in comes...
Felix and Safi.
Yep, they come in. This is Felix has returned from his journeys. He's introducing his dad and his sister to his bride. She's speaks French, so there's a language barrier. We're setting up a lot of stuff that we've seen before. It's all very familiar. By
the way, I love how Felix pulls Agatha and signs "Hey, despite the fact that we're in Geneva, Switzerland, I would really like you to teach Safi English."
Right? Yeah. And so then that night, Felix is up late. He's chopping wood, and he you can tell he heard something, something feels off to him. He stops. He's kind of looking around, what was that? But then Agatha comes in and she's like, "Can we talk?" And so he gets distracted from that and forgets about it for now. This is when he asks to teach English.
Sorry. Yeah, so we actually also get an interesting thing immediately as the next day comes. Safi goes out to pray, to do a prayer in the woods. So she is Muslim, which makes sense because that was the character in the story, in the book.
Yeah. This is stuff that we rarely get in adaptations. I mean, even if we get Safi at all, we definitely don't get this level of it.
Right. She's usually a white lady or maybe Spanish, which is weird.
Right. Felix goes out to check on her, and she's like, I thought I heard something, and he was like, oh, it's probably just me. You know, I was coming out looking for you.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dad and Agatha went into town, and she's like, oh, okay. And he's like, no. Dad and Agatha went into town. The cabin is empty.
Right.
And,
so let's populate it.
Yeah. So we cut to them immediately. Like they're back in the cabin. They're making out. And we, again see that the monster is watching this happen through the wind, or through the slats in the wall or whatever.
Right.
And then we get I really liked this. It was like a subtle little thing that like kind of gives us a lot of information about like the monster's sort of identity and stuff. We have like later on in the evening, everybody's just kind of like sitting around the fire, talking, doing stuff. And Felix is doing some repair, I think to like some boots or something.
Yeah.
But he's sewing like with like a heavy needle through like leather. And the monster's again watching, and then he kind of like looks at his own arm and sees the big thick black stitches in his own hand, in his arm.
Right. He's like, oh, that's how that happened.
Yeah.
I gotcha. But also I do like the loving glances that Safi and Felix are giving each other. And like Agatha's trying to teach her quote unquote English, and Safi just is constantly distracted.
Yeah. This all just feels very pastoral, it's very sweet. Which
Time
is
to ruin that.
Yeah, of course. Like you got to set this up so that it hurts, and they do a good job of doing it pretty quickly here.
Right. Felix is like, oh, I've got to stoke the fire, but we don't have any wood, so I'm going to go cut wood. Agatha's like, you've already done that, man. We're stocked. We're stocked for the winter. We're good.
Yeah. And he's like, what? What do you mean? And so they go together to the shed, and there's a bunch of wood there. And Felix is like, I didn't do this. This is strange. But great, good. Can't go wrong with free labor. So they're happy about that. And
we've got some great neighbors.
Yeah. So then we have again Safi going out into the forest to pray, and Felix is talking to Agatha, and he's like, I'm worried that Papa is not going to accept Safi. I wonder how much his hands can see.
Right.
So, there's the Muslim thing, and then also, she's black. His hands are not going to be able to see that she's Muslim, certainly, but I think that Felix is worried, like, he's not going to be okay that she's black.
Right. But that's really weird. I feel like the Muslim thing would probably take precedent at this time.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. So we go back to Safi, who is, again, sitting to pray, and we hear, like, a growl, and then, like, quick movement towards her, and then it hard cuts away.
Right.
So definitely not a good situation, but we don't know exactly what happened just yet. So we're back at the cabin, and Delacey starts asking more questions about Safi to Felix and Agatha, and they're like, yeah, she went outside to pray. And he's like, why did she go outside? She could just pray in here. And they're like, why. Like, put two and two together here, Dad.
Who would go to pray to a certain direction?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And Felix is like, well, actually, she's kind of been gone a long time. I'm going to go check on her. So after she leaves, Agatha's like, yeah, Dad,
we got to talk.
Yeah. And, he's sort of like, why didn't Felix tell me this sooner? And she was like, because he was worried you wouldn't be okay with this. And he's like, yeah, he should have been worried. I'm not.
I'm not okay with this, yeah. Which, damn, all right, bro.
Yeah, usually Delacey is like one of the most like faultless characters in adaptations, but here we have like a kind of, racist, religious, essentialist version of Delacey.
Well, see that we have to be sympathetic towards him being murdered, because that's what's going to happen. Spoiler alert, I guess, in the next 5 seconds.
Well, so we cut from their conversation back to outside, and we do see that. Or Felix finds Safi's prayer mat in the snow, but not Safi, and there's some blood splattered around, and so he starts, calling out, running to find her, and then we do get some like quick shots of Safi actually being attacked by the monster.
She's trying to crawl away, which is awful, before she gets murdered.
Yeah, and they do a good job here of like they're teasing the monster to us, like we see this physical imposing presence all in like dark clothing and stuff, but we don't get a good look at him. We don't see his face.
Right.
And of course it ends with like blood splattering on the snow and then like some prayer beads hitting the ground. So they do a good job here of like making this really like brutal and violent, but not like gory and so yeah, I think they really are kind of nailing a good tone here. And then back at the cabin, Felix rushes in at this point and is like, I need your help. Like something's wrong. I found blood on the snow. Like we got to hurry.
Dad, you stay here. We'll take care of this.
Yeah. So Felix and Agatha go back out to search. And at that point, as you said, the monster bursts into the cabin. And again, to kind of differentiate him from like our usual Delacey, usually he's like, welcome friend, traveler and all this. No,
right
away,
who the fuck are you?
Yeah, he is scared. He's not happy that somebody has come into his cabin, and he's not happy that this person is not communicating with him. He has no idea what's going on.
Right, he's swinging his stick around like a bat.
Yeah, but the monster like effortlessly just pulls the cane away from him, and then like beats him to death, or at least pretty close to death. And then when he's laying there on the ground, the monster takes his cane and shoves it down his throat. This one is a lot more visibly like brutal.
Right. So we've got another deviation where the monster is just a monster. Like he's not human really at all.
Yeah, I mean, the title being Day of the Beast, I think they wanted to make it pretty clear. This isn't like a sympathetic monster. This is a beast. This is a thing that wants to kill and hurt anything that crosses its path.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and go out and see what's up with Felix and Agatha now.
Yep. So of course they do end up finding Safi dead in the snow, and Agatha kind of like looks up and sees off in the distance the monster standing there, seeing them, and then the monster just like takes off deeper into the forest. Felix is like, "Stay with Safi. I'm going after him." Yeah.
But of course, as soon as he leaves, things go kind of quiet, and she's like, Felix, are you there? And then,
this monster's got it's like a slasher kind of thing where he's really good about getting
people
off. Getting them to separate, split up, and then circle back and get the most vulnerable every time. So, so we have again, he kind of dashes towards her. We cut away, and then we cut back to Agatha again. Just like some time has passed, she is waking up, and we see that she's in terror, and the monster is sewing.
Yeah, we don't get it sewing her, just it sewing in general. Yeah. I wonder what's happening here, Anthony. Yeah. We'll find out later.
Yep. So then we just cut to later on. We're in a different time, a different place. We're in this. There's no snow now, and we have this kind of beautiful building that's like an ancient ruin. It's like an old amphitheater, maybe a church or something, but
it was definitely free and exposed, and they could just use it. So they did.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so this is the wedding of Victor and Elizabeth.
Man, we skipped a lot of the story. At this point? What are we doing here? But we also, as they're getting married in Latin, which I appreciate that little touch. That's a nice touch. Mm-hmm. We also see some hunters, and one guy's looking at some bubbling water, and he doesn't immediately walk away from the water. He's just chilling right by it.
Yeah. We have these two diverging stories. We have we see quick cuts as it seems like the monster is approaching again as this search party starts to separate. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, at the wedding ceremony, there's tension there. When it gets to the part where Elizabeth, and they don't say "I do." I forget what because it's
I
Latin
accept.
ceremony. Okay.
So basically, I do, but just in a roundabout way.
Yeah. So Elizabeth kind of hesitates before she does it. She does eventually say it. And then as the ceremony ends, Victor he takes the wedding ring away from Elizabeth.
She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, clearly she was hesitant about this, so clearly Victor was the one wanting it to happen, so she's confused. And he's like, I know you must be upset, but like, I have to do this tonight, and
you'll get this back when we sort some things out.
Yeah, and she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, she's been completely on the outside of this.
Yeah. And then we find out that, well, the guy who was looking at the water, apparently his friends find out that, hey, he's not there anymore.
Yeah, he has disappeared. So the rest of the guys that kind of split up, they all kind of reconnect, and they're like, where did he go? And one of them's like, yeah, something's wrong here. Let's go this way. And the other guys are like, okay, we'll follow you. We'll stay together at this point.
Right. Meanwhile, Victor reveals, hey, you know how you found my brother, and I said he drowned. Turns out when I rolled him over, he had some big old handprints on his neck, so he was murdered.
Yeah, so of course Elizabeth's very upset about this. She loved William, and is like, what does this mean? What does this have to do with us right now? Like, this is horrible news, and it's upsetting, but I still don't understand what this has to do with the wedding ring and all this. And then Victor like whispers in her ear, "It's coming for you next." Right.
Oh, that's fun. And then that's when we get the great priest just busting back in and be like, hey, I thought we were supposed to leave. I don't want to be here no more.
Yeah. And so then we go back to the men out in the woods. They find more blood splatter, and they find their rowboat now just, like, destroyed. And they're like, oh, shit, we were supposed to take the priest back to the mainland. Mm-hmm. We better find Captain Yeager and let him know something's going on.
Right.
And they also see a giant footprint in the mud. Like, one of them, I think, puts his foot in it, and it is way bigger.
It's Yeager. Yeah, it's like double, like, well, probably even quadruple Yeager's foot size, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, what happened to Schiffer? Maybe he's dead, And Yeager's like, well, even dead, he can't be too far. This is an island.
Yeah. So back with Victor and Elizabeth, like, they're kind of looking out the window. They can see some of the search party stuff happening, and Victor says, like, Captain Yeager is... I don't know the rest of those guys, but I've hired Captain Yeager to help defeat this monster, right. And then he has brought in his own crew. So I don't know these guys, but I trust Yeager. So
they're basically
we're gonna handle
fodder.
This. Yeah, right. Yeah, a bunch of red shirts for sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
and so Elizabeth's freaking out at this point. She's like, "Why? Why does God let this happen, priest?" And the priest is like, "Probably because you didn't go to church on Sunday. Why not?"
Yeah, and he's like,
he's a
shitty priest. Yeah, So back in the woods, the men end up finding the rifle of their missing friend, and it's like fucking bent in half. Like,
right, it's steel that has been bent.
Yeah, so they're like, oh shit, this is no man. This is something. I mean, this is a beast, right? This is something much more powerful.
And then they hear gurgling, and they follow that to a guy who's been bisected by a tree.
Yeah, he's just like, and his like guts are all splattered out and everything, and they have to put him out of his misery, basically. Like, he is not savable at this point.
Yeah. It's a slow death or it's a quick death, either one. So then we cut back to Elizabeth, and she's freaking out with who we'll find out is Justine. I didn't know who this character was, but they only mention her, like, later on when it doesn't matter. And she's like, I went home with Victor, but I should have been walking home with William so I could have saved him. And the priest is like, that was your sin. Everybody does wrong, but now you have to atone. And then, like, that's immediately when the hand comes through his chest or his stomach and rips him back out of the wall. So that's kind of poetic that he's talking about, everyone has to face judgment and penance and all that.
Yeah, so the monster has, like, punched through... Is it the window or a wall? But, like, yeah, either way...
The window and the priest.
Yeah, and then, just yanks him back out. That was a great scene. Like, it just looked really good.
Right. So we're like, this guy got what he deserved. Good deal. Excellent.
Yeah.
Right.
So, of course, Elizabeth, like, freaks out at seeing that. And everybody else kind of, like, runs to chase after the monster as it's, like, dragging this priest away. Right. Everybody's kind of panicked at this point, and they do end up finding the priest dead.
Well, the monster throws something at them, and they're like, what the fuck was that? And it was the priest.
Yeah. Yeah, and so at this point, Victor has joined up. Like, it is now, like, all hands on deck. And the men are like, what is going on? Like, you told us there was like a killer on the loose, but this is something else. This is much more than just a killer.
Right. Elizabeth immediately runs out, and they're like, hey, and they almost shoot her. And he's like, damn it, Liz, he's not supposed to see you.
Yeah, and she's like, no, I don't feel safe alone in the house. I'm coming with you all.
Right. Alone? But what about the doctor and Justine? Where are they?
Yeah. So they try to. He's like, let's just all hole up in the church. We can all be safe there. And then we see like the monster is just like up on the hill, just like throwing like giant rocks at them, just like hucking these huge stones.
It beans one guy, but somehow doesn't kill him.
Yeah. Like this should have just like caved in his skull.
Yeah.
But they do make it to the church, but the rock assault does not stop. It's just breaking through the windows. It's breaking through the roof. Like these, I mean, if it burst through the roof of a house, it would definitely have killed that guy.
Yeah, 100%. But also, then we hear just like stomping upstairs all of a sudden.
Yeah, the monster is on the roof, and Victor's like, "Is there a basement? We got to get out of here, like now."
Right.
And at that point, the monster's hand punches through the roof, grabs Justine, and yanks her up through the ceiling, and then like seconds later, just like drops her back down dead. It's like seconds. He like just rips her up there, kills her, throws her back.
Right. To be fair, probably a more humane fate, quote unquote, than what she experienced in the book.
Yeah, true.
At least she didn't experience religious torture.
Right, yeah. Yeah, this is at least like quick and maybe relatively painless. So once the monster drops Justine, they see out the window that he like runs off into the distance. And they're also like Victor knows, but the rest of the guys are like, that was way too big to just be a man. Like that was huge.
Well, it's not technically. Technically yes, but technically no.
They're like, you know more than you're telling us, Victor. What's going on? Is this a demon? What have you done?
Well,
and yeah, Victor's like, it's not a demon, but maybe it is the devil himself that's keeping it alive, or maybe it's God and he's punishing me for trying to play him.
He was playing God?
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the creature-making montage, because that's what the next couple minutes are.
Yeah, we get a good flashback of all the stuff we've seen. We've got, we have Victor with an assistant who I think is Clerval, right?
I'm assuming so. I don't think they actually name him, and I didn't look at the credits, because I feel like there's a lot of characters that are there just to die.
Yeah.
Hint, this is one of them.
Yep, yeah. So the lab science, like the whole mad science scene here is, I thought it was pretty good. It is another instance where like it feels a little bit more faithful to the book. Like we usually have like the big lightning strikes, a lot of electricity, but like Mary Shelley's pretty vague, and it sounds like mostly it's like chemical. It's a lot of chemistry stuff, and that seems to be what's going on here. Like we don't have a big storm. It's just like they're mixing liquids together, and something happens, and the monster's hand starts to move.
Oh, by the way, yes, it is Henry, and it's played by Jay Disney.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's any relation. It's just a coincidence.
Yeah. This isn't, of the Orlando Disneys?
Right, exactly. No, the San Diego Disneys.
So, they check the monster's heart. It seems like it's alive, and then, we have there's always something about God. Here, I think Henry says, for the love of God, and Victor's like, God, I don't think we should give him credit on this one.
Right. Oh, no.
Yeah. And then Henry says something about how the monster is hideous, and Victor like is offended. He's like, no, this is our creation. Like, we don't have him immediately like hate the monster as he usually does. Here he's like defensive to start with, but the thing with this one is that the creature sort of like half wakes up, but is sort of still comatose. Like he's got pulse, heartbeat, but he's not really moving. He's not responding to any kind of stimulus. They, do a lot of different tests for his like reflexes and stuff.
Can he see? Is he weak? Like, can he hear? I don't think so.
Yeah. So then we have like, a few days have passed. Victor is, writing his journals that the monster still hasn't woken up or improved in any way.
But Henry yells out, "Oh, it bit me! Charlie bit me!"
Yeah. So they like, come downstairs and they see that like, yeah, the monster seems still asleep and lifeless. I think Victor like does some measurements and realizes that it is growing.
Right.
We in a lot of versions it's like, oh, Victor made a big monster because it was easier for sewing things together and etc. But like here it seems like some kind of gland, something that Victor has done here. The creature is has hit some sort of growth spurt on its own, like some natural growth.
He's basically give this creature human growth hormone, HGH.
Yeah. So they're trying to figure out why the monster bit him, because it's still just like lifeless as far as they can tell. And then they realize that it does seem to have like a sense of smell. So like Henry was trying to feed him, and he just tried to eat, and like Henry just got his hand too close and got bit in the process.
Right. So he's like, all right, well, that must be it. Victor's like, yeah, that's all. I mean, we should be good. The creature's going to be fine. And then all of a sudden he walks away and it sits up. And Henry's like, oh, fuck. Oh, no.
Yeah, because it's a classic, like, Victor's like, yeah, I mean, it's just some reflexes, but I don't see any changes. And the monster's behind him, sitting up, and Henry's like, I do. I see some big changes.
Right.
So Victor starts trying to talk to the creature, and it appears to be deaf. It's almost like its various senses are coming online in its own time frame. So, like, he seems to have a sense of smell, he's getting some motor function, but can't quite hear yet, and doesn't seem to be able to see. Like, they kind of, try to wave his hand in front of his face and stuff, and it's just not really doing anything. And then they do try to feed him again, and that seems, he responds to that. Like, he definitely likes that. But then eventually, like, I guess he gets, I don't know, I've seen this happen with babies, like they'll, you feed them and then they're suddenly done eating, so they just slap the food away, like, I'm done, get rid of this shit. And yeah, so Victor's like, yeah, it seems like we're making progress. Maybe he's starting to see. Like, it looks like his eyes are focusing a little bit.
Right.
So,
well, and then immediately just reaches out and starts choking the shit out of Victor.
Yeah. So Henry manages to kind of like fight it off, and like Henry kind of drops to the ground, not quite unconscious, but like kind of dazed.
Right.
And then as he kind of like gathers his faculties and stands up, he sees that in that couple, like that minute or couple seconds or whatever, the monster has just killed Henry and is like biting into his neck. Like it is.
Maybe he was hungry. It's just for human meat.
Yeah. So then we have like kind of like a little bit of a montage with Victor doing like voiceover as he's telling this story to Jaeger and his men.
Right. Basically, I locked it away, but it followed me. It kind of pushes him against a tree, but it's like, no, I'll let you live.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, it's punishing me for making it.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth says something that I think is honestly kind of dumb, given everything we've seen about this creature. She's like, no, he's punishing you because you didn't accept him. Oh, honey, I don't think that's it at all. I don't think this thing gives a shit.
Yeah. This isn't a lovable, sympathetic monster.
Right.
But
she's like, he must be here to kill me.
Yeah, and Victor he already told her that. Yes, we know this is what's happening. Mm-hmm. So then we have this servant character named Percival, which I assume is like a little nod to like Percy Shelley.
Right. But the doctor, that's what this guy is. They call him doctor as well. Yeah,
and he's like, I found something, and he leads everyone, like they're all in the basement, kind of like huddled down there. And he finds there's like a boarded up wall, or no, they're just in the main church, but he finds a boarded up wall that leads down into like this secret passage under the church.
This is how we're gonna get out, guys. Go deeper in. That'll be safe.
Yeah, and the hunters are like, this passage is pretty narrow. I don't know if we can get through. And they're basically like, we gotta get through. If we can squeeze our way through, that even helps more that it's narrow. The monster's not going to be able to follow us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then one idiot decides, hey, I'm going to make sure the coast is clear instead of just leave the fucking door in place.
Yeah. So, yeah, the monster's arm bursts through another window, grabs that guy, drags him out.
Well, no, he opens the door and it just yanks him out.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Victor's like, go. And so everybody's like rushing through the tunnel. But
they're like, no, Frankenstein, you're last, bro. You're the last one in case it just wants to kill you.
which adds this great tension, because as they go through the tunnel, they get to a spot where like it's blocked, and they were gonna have to break through another obstacle to continue onward. And Victor's in the back, and he knows the monster is coming, so he's stuck. Coming. Yeah. So Victor manages the soldier in front of him. He like takes that guy's pistol and starts firing it at the monster. And the guy's like, "Did you hit it?" And he's like, Yes. And he's like, "Is it dead?" And he's like, "Of course not." Like,
right, no,
we're not going to stop this with a pistol.
I shot in the... They're like, "You shot in the face. What the hell?" He's like, yeah I know. Yeah.
So they do manage to get through the tunnel, and they're sort of like escaped from the monster for the moment. And then in this little room that they find, there's a huge like footlocker full of gunpowder.
Well, it's dynamite. There's just a bunch of dynamite.
Oh, okay, yeah. And they're like, this could be it. Like, this maybe will do it.
Right.
But Victor's like,
probably won't.
Yeah, it won't die. It can't die. You can blow it into 1,000 pieces, and each piece will still be alive. It'll still be coming after us.
I feel like you could still separate it and burn it bit by bit, though.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Or at least, I mean, if you separate it and seal up each part, it's not going to be able to do anything.
Right.
But it definitely feels like because they used chemistry instead of like electricity, it feels very Reanimator. That's kind of the thing with Reanimator, that like the
individual components
are
alive.
Yeah. So the soldiers are like, okay, yeah, we'll blow it into 1,000 pieces. I'll fight a hand all day long over this giant monster.
Yeah. But you're going to be the bait, Frankenstein. You're going to go in there. You're going to leave a trail of gunpowder that'll go to some dynamite, and basically, when it gets there, blows it up.
Yep. So, Victor heads into the tunnel, kind of like drizzling the gunpowder behind him as he goes, and he's like trying to coax the monster, but he's afraid. I mean, with good reason here.
Right. Now he also notes, I believe, that, or someone notes that they think that the monster is looking for a mate. That's its whole purpose. Or
Victor says that to the monster. Like, I know what you want from me, but I would rather die than go through that process again.
Right. So it's like, oh, okay. So great, awesome. Hopefully that doesn't become a contentious point of the movie.
Right.
Yeah, but sorry, go ahead.
But so Victor's down in the tunnel, and the men are like, okay, it's been long enough. We're going to light the gunpowder. We're going to set this off.
Liz pulls the gun. She's like, no, you're not going to blow up my husband.
Yeah, give him time to get back. And the whole time they're like, Mrs. Frankenstein, just put down the gun, And she's like, my name is Elizabeth. Stop calling me that.
Not that yet. Not till this shit's sorted out.
Yeah. But like, these guys are not, they're not concerned with chivalry here. They want to save their skins. So one of the guys just fucking punches Elizabeth in the face. Just like...
Right. Jaeger's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and so we've got a mutiny here on our hands. Like, another one of the soldiers just stabs Jaeger. He's just like, fuck it. We're not going to listen to you. You're going to put us at risk to protect these two rich idiots, and we're not here for it.
Fair, dude. Completely fair, Hurst. I think the guy's name is Hurst.
Okay, yeah.
They're all fodder, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, he's like, all right, we're done. We're done with Jaeger. You can do whatever the hell you want. We're leaving.
Yeah. So Victor starts trying to head. He hears the commotion. He tries to head back towards where Elizabeth is.
Oh yeah, I forgot. They're like, oh, also we're going to blow up your husband for good measure.
Yeah, so they have lit the powder, but Victor kind of like crosses paths with the the dynamite, or like the spark heading down towards the explosives.
Right.
So he manages to kind of like duck in a little alcove before the explosion.
It does get the monster though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the tunnel just like collapses, and the men are like, that had to do it. But Elizabeth, thinks that Victor might have died in this too, because he's, now trapped in this like collapsed tunnel.
We see he's fine, mostly.
Yeah, he wakes up, but he sees that, the monster has been blown to bits, but as he feared, the bits are still alive. So we see
literally the hands is trying to grasp for everything else and pull itself back together to a degree.
Yeah. So he starts running back through the tunnel, trying to get to Elizabeth. Meanwhile, the soldiers are just like fuck you, Elizabeth. You can stay here and wait on your idiot husband, but we're out. So they climb up a ladder, like a back exit out of the building.
Right. And instead of going, Elizabeth's like, no, I'm going to dig in through this collapsed tunnel to get to my husband. And the doctor's not like, hey, we'll send somebody to get him later. Like, he's not there anymore. He's gone.
Yeah, he says, don't let Victor's sacrifice be in vain. And Elizabeth's like, he wasn't trying to sacrifice anything. He was trying to kill the monster and come back to safety, so I'm going to get him to safety.
Right. I feel like at that point you're like, oh, honey, this is over.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So we have the soldiers, heading back. They're trying to meet the boat. And they're like, they don't really care that Elizabeth and Percival aren't following, and they certainly don't care that Victor is probably dead.
Yeah.
But Victor manages to make it out the other side of the tunnel. So now he's back in the church.
But also he has a giant shard of wood in his leg that he has to tie off.
Yeah. So he's, of course, he's got the medical training. He's working on his wounds. Elizabeth is digging into the tunnel, and Percival's like, I can't go back to, I can't, I'm too afraid of the monster. I can't follow you. And Elizabeth's like, I get it.
I'm also old, and, I'm not as young as I was, and I'm not as light as I was. And she's like, yeah, okay, buddy. Sure, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't expect you to. I am doing this for my husband. Whether you follow along or not, that's up to you.
Right. She goes in, and he's like, oh, thank God. I don't have to do that. But he maybe should have done that, because immediately we see a hand kind of just perched beside him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so then it's like we just see a shot of it behind him, and then we see Elizabeth coming upon a leg of the monster that is also still alive and moving.
Right. Another hand is pulling the leg towards the body.
Yeah, and so that, of course, scares her. She screams, and suddenly the torso and head of the monster, with no arms or legs, tries to attack her, tries to bite her, but can't get enough leverage because it doesn't have the arms and legs. So
this is the only time that they could have killed this thing, I think.
Yeah. This felt like the Black Knight in Monty Python. It was almost a little comedic, but the monster is still so just vicious and scary.
But she manages to barely get out from underneath him.
Yeah. So she runs back the way she came, finds Percival dead.
But there's something moving around in his chest.
Yeah, so we almost get a chest burster scene, and the hand erupts out from under his shirt, starts trying to choke Elizabeth. But by now, Victor has run around the outside and gotten back to where they were, and he's able to save her, and he tangles the hand up in a net and throws it back down into the tunnel. And so then we have them heading back up to the surface. They are hiding behind a tree, and they see the soldiers, and the soldiers are trying to make a plan.
Right.
And
by the way, they're making a flame in the middle of a windy forest, or at least the edge of a windy forest. It's like, guys, that's not going to work.
yeah, not the best plan. And Elizabeth's like, should we reconvene with them? And Victor's like, no, fuck those guys. I don't trust them. It's not worth it to get mixed up with them again.
Right. All the time the hunters are like, no, yeah, Frankenstein's definitely dead, and so is the monster. Nobody could have survived that explosion. Literally everyone survived that explosion.
Right. So then we see the monster's parts are all starting to bring themselves back together in the tunnel, and then meanwhile Victor and Elizabeth find a sentinel tower that looks to be abandoned.
What a weird way to say watchtower, though. I guess it's kind of the same, but
yeah. So they're like, this is a perfect place to hide. They go up inside, and Elizabeth starts trying to make it comfortable. She tries to turn on some lights and stuff.
He's like, nah, don't do that.
Yeah, the monster is looking for us. We don't want him to even register that there could be somebody up here.
Right.
She's like, why did you make something so evil? And he was like, I obviously didn't mean to.
But I think I opened the door to something evil, something unspeakable to populate the creature.
Yeah, basically he's like, I reanimated dead tissue, but I didn't think about what would go into that tissue. Yeah. So she's like, what can we do now? And he's like, the only way to be free of it is death. And she's like, ours? And he's like, no, his. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So he's got a plan, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So then we see the soldiers. They're hiding out in the forest, and we get another POV shot where, like, we see that the monster has fully reassembled itself and is watching them.
Right. Well, he crawls out of a well, which is a great, like, Ringu shot.
Yeah. Back in the tower, Elizabeth's like, I need to ask you something about what's going on here. And he's like, I've told you everything I know. I have no more answers.
Well, how did you know the creature wanted me?
And she's like, did he talk to you? And he's like, it showed it to me. And so we get another flashback to Victor and Jaeger and Jaeger's crew in the snow finding the Delacey cabin.
Right. And on the floor is kind of Agatha, also Safi.
Yeah, it's this mangled,
It's basically Agatha's head and one arm on Safi's torso.
Yeah, I think one of the soldiers is like, "Oh no, we should have left a guard here to protect them." And Victor's like, "It would have just killed our guard too." So then we cut back to the present where we see that Victor is holding Safi's prayer beads from earlier. So he's, he does feel some amount of like responsibility and guilt about the Delacey family all being killed. But he says, the monster wants to breed, and if that happens, it would be the end of all mankind.
Dun, dun,
dun. Yeah. So then we have the soldiers. They're also trying to find a place to hide in safety.
They find the exact same place.
Yeah. So they grab Elizabeth and they just knock out Victor. And they start dragging Elizabeth out. And they're like, we're going to give the creature
what it wants. Yeah, exactly.
Yep, exactly. So then we see like a little later on the beach, Elizabeth is like, yelling at that. She's like, she's angry. She's like, you idiots! Like the boat that's coming to rescue us is coming to the other side of the island. We're like nowhere near the rescue point.
Oh yeah, Bartol and other guy go find the boat and fire it off whenever you see it.
Yeah. So then we have back in the tower, Victor wakes up and obviously is upset that Elizabeth's gone. He's got to go try to find her. And then when the soldiers get to the other side of the island and find the boat, they fire their gun.
On the oar.
Yeah. Yes. Something's definitely happened here, but it is a functioning boat. This is a way to escape. So they fire the gun as they were instructed, and of course, Victor and the monster, both in their own like kind of hiding places, hear this.
Yeah. Literally everyone on the island now knows.
Yeah. So we're triangulating everybody to the same spot, So the monster shows up first, and he just attacks the two soldiers, kills them effortlessly. Mm-hmm. But in the commotion, the gun goes off a second time.
Right, and everyone's like, wait, or at least the hunters are like, they were only supposed to fire one time.
Yeah, once was a signal, twice something bad's going on.
Yeah, twice is a warning, right?
Yeah, so, but they keep going, and when they get to the boat, they find that it's empty, and they don't see their comrades around.
Right.
So these two idiot soldiers decide to split up further, so they go in two different directions.
One's using a spyglass to look for the creature.
Yeah, and while he's distracted, Elizabeth manages to like just run off. She's like, I'm not dealing with these guys.
Right.
But then the monster appears, and he just fucking punches the spyglass through the guy's skull. It's great.
Right. It is a good bit, yeah, for sure. Like, at least the monster has a sense of humor, I guess.
Yeah. And it's definitely like the gore in this movie kind of escalates into like more ridiculous
comedy.
Yeah.
Until it doesn't, but that's later.
Yeah. So then we have Elizabeth hiding, and her hands were tied. The soldiers tied her hands behind her back. So she like eventually like sits down against a tree and is able to like wriggle her wrists under her butt. So she like she's still tied up, but her hands are in front of her now.
Right.
And then meanwhile, Victor finds the last soldier, the one who like went to investigate, and seemingly he saw the guy get the spyglass punched or whatever, and is just like, fuck this, I'm out. So he's like, he's about to take off in the boat by himself and to leave everybody else to be killed by the monster.
Right, but Victor's like, no, you're going to step away from that fucking boat because he has the gun pulled on this guy. And he's like, we're going to leave, and you're going to stay here and die. That's fine. And the other guy's like, wait. Dr. Frankenstein, listen, let's talk, like, and meanwhile, he's, like, reaching behind him for anything they can use as a weapon.
Yeah.
And Victor's like, nah, fuck you, and just shoots the guy.
Yeah. And at first it seems like he falls over dead, and Victor goes to check on him, but he, like, pulls a knife then, and we get, like,
It's a scuffle, it's a fight.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we go back to Elizabeth, who is, like, working to try to cut the rope using, like, a rough tree branch.
Right. The creature grabs her, bites through the restraints, and, like, acts like it's going to shove her onto a very pointy log that's nearby.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
So he's like pushing her against it, and like it looks like definitely something brutal's about to happen, but she manages to like get in a good crotch kick, and that works. And so
Frankenstein has nards. Sorry.
Yeah.
Or Got's nards. Sorry.
Yeah. So Elizabeth is able to run away. She climbs up a tree to hide. And
I like that she uses the restraint to do it, though. Like the bit of the rope, she like uses it to latch on and just like shimmy her way up the tree.
Yeah, it's kind of like the lumberjack, like the belt that they use.
Exactly.
So she gets up in a tree and she watches the monster like looking for her, and it walks past the tree and keeps going. So like she's like, hell yeah, this worked.
Yeah. Standing 45 degrees above the monster, he'll never see me.
Yeah. So then we go back to Victor and the soldier. The fight is it's brutal. This is like, this is a fight to the death. Like, neither one's going to give up. And eventually, Victor manages to drown the soldier in the lake.
Right. He just somehow gets him flipped over and, pushes his head in the puddle, basically.
Yeah. Then Elizabeth, once the monster seems to have moved on, she climbs down from the tree.
Well, guess what? Yeah. He was baiting you the whole time.
Yep, so he immediately grabs her. Meanwhile, Victor is now trying to find Elizabeth. And it's really good. Like, we are bouncing back and forth between these two scenes. Elizabeth is screaming in terror as the monster has her. But when we go back to Victor, in the soundtrack, you can kind of hear Elizabeth's screams very quietly, but there's also a lot of thunder. A storm is coming, so Victor does not hear Elizabeth's screams.
Right.
And eventually, the monster like pushes Elizabeth down and is like on top of her.
Mm-hmm. By the way, this is going to get uncomfortable real quick, but luckily it's not there for very long.
Yeah, this is like, we're definitely like leaning towards like assault here. You know, we've been told the monster wants to breed, and that looks like where we're going.
Frankenstein has nards.
Yeah.
And he knows how to use them, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So then it's just like, as you said, we're not going to stay with this, like dwell on this scene too long. We just cut to like, a little bit of time has passed. Victor finds Elizabeth. She is face down on a log, like seems like she's dead, but he goes to her and no, she's alive. She's okay.
Right. But the creature's smiling, not in a pleasant smile. That's not a pleasant smile. That's a, do what the fuck you want because I've already won smile.
Yeah. He's just sitting there, like just watching. He's unafraid. Like he's just there to talk. And, Victor runs towards them. He goes to reach for his gun.
Hey,
and
my gun's missing.
And then he looks over, and Elizabeth got it away from him, like as he approached, and she's got it pointed at her head.
So she cuts her own time in this movie short.
Yeah,
by a couple seconds.
And we get like another flashback where, like, when Victor said, "It's coming after you now," we get he said something else we didn't see the first time, which is, "I think it wants to breed."
Yeah.
So when Elizabeth, basically defeats the monster's plot in a way where she ends up having to take the brunt of the suffering. The monster is like roars in agony. He's angry. He's defeated. And then we just cut to Victor climbing into the rowboat all alone, rowing away back into the lake.
He's not all alone because he does have a burlap sack with him.
Yep. And we see a little later, Victor's back in his lab, and in that burlap sack is Elizabeth's dead body. And he gets to work.
It's time to do the thing.
Yep. So he injects Elizabeth with the same chemicals. This is like, classic like Pet Cemetery shit, where it's like, we know he's already said, I can reanimate dead tissue, but I'm not in charge or in control of what enters that dead tissue. I don't get a say in the soul situation. Right. So reanimating Elizabeth's dead body does not reanimate Elizabeth.
Right. Literally the stupidest Frankenstein. Like, she did this to prevent the worst thing to happen to humanity.
Yep.
And he's undoing that, what she did.
Yeah, and so Victor is like leaning over Elizabeth, waiting to see if she's going to wake up. And she does. She sits up, screams, and immediately just like bites into Victor's throat, like tearing it out with her teeth.
Right. And that's fine. That's fine. This Victor deserved that, for sure.
Yeah.
Then the monster busts in. She's like, she screams, and I'm like, oh, we're going to have a monster fight. No. She runs off, and he's like, all right, baby, and shuts the door.
Yep, and so then Victor just lays there on the floor, bleeding out to death as he realizes that he just unleashed the worst thing upon mankind possible. And that takes us to credits. What a grim, brutal ending.
Right. Well, I mean, what the fuck, man? Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, this is the darkest, but he's also the dumbest.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, he couldn't, you know, best intentions, whatever, with the monster, or the first monster, whatever.
But you knew how this was gonna go, you know? Like,
yeah. So
even with insanity being, you know, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, you know where this is going.
Absolutely, yeah. So, you know, that's the end. This is, you know, not sequel bait or anything. We're just kind of left knowing that, like, things are about to get really bad for humankind.
Right. The Frankenstein War, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
I mean, like, I really liked... I think my favorite sort of adaptations of Frankenstein are the ones that, like, follow fairly close to the book and then
but do
really...
something slightly different.
Yeah, do something really, like, interesting and different with it. And I feel like this really nails that. Like, this whole thing... it's kind of a common thing for people to play with where, like, Elizabeth dies and ends up becoming the bride. Like, it's just fun to kind of roll those two characters together.
Right.
You know, sometimes it's Elizabeth and Justine mixed together. And, you know, here it's just Elizabeth. But, like, this whole thing of the monster... you know, often it's like the monster wants a companion. The monster wants friendship. Right. The monster is lonely. But
this one just wants, to have offspring.
Yeah, because it's a beast. It's an animal. It only has, like, you know, a couple drives, and that is, like, to feed and breed. Like, it just wants to it just wants to expand its, you know, dominion, and it's going to do that by any means necessary. So, yes, I like this. You know, I mean, I always love a sympathetic monster. It's my favorite. But, like,
sometimes you just want a monster.
Yeah. So this is just a really fun, just, like, brutal,
I would say grim, monster. But yeah. Like, if you just want something to hate, this Victor and this monster are definitely easily hateable.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Being Liz is probably the only likable character. I mean, Jaeger's okay, but he kind of, you know, dies early on.
Yeah. So that is Frankenstein Day of the Beast.
Yeah, it sure is. All right. So, Anthony, how about next week we just, you know, like this Frankenstein, do it over again and expect different results?
Yes. Yeah, so next week I'm really excited to do this. I feel like it's going to be sort of a very different than what we normally do, but also very familiar in a way. So this is a movie that came out like a couple years ago. 2020, called The Last Matinee, which is, from what I understand, a fairly typical slasher/giallo movie,
right?
But that takes place in a movie theater that is screening Frankenstein Day of the Beast,
which is a wild combination because this one came out in 2011, whereas The Last Matinee came out in 2020.
Yeah.
Where do these intersect? We're going to find out next week, though.
Yep. Yeah. So join us for this kind of really interesting, you know, interpretation. I guess this is not something we've seen before, and I'm excited to get into it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, where can they find us, Anthony?
Yeah, so you can find us on all the socials at The Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. We're also over on YouTube. And, of course, you can always find us at patreon.com/thefrankencast, where we're trying all kinds of new stuff all the time. We'd love to have you over there to check out our ongoing MONSTROUS series, our recent discussions about the Creature Commando series. We've done several books and comic books, and there's just all kinds of good stuff over there, and we'd love to have you. Beautiful.
All right. Well, anything else to say?
I think that's it.
Then, to be continued.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.